Cordelia responded to that, so we should be all right.
Okay, so, I assume, you copied Cordelia and also I have her email address, because you copied her on the emails you sent us, right? I'm sure you actually did, so her email address will be there.
On the financial statements?
Financials and stuff, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So I'll
she
just
gets
pull that
copied
out.
on everything.
Okay, so I'll just pull it up that way. So do you guys enjoy sitting out on your deck with
Oh
her?
my God. I got a relative making as a contractor making a sunroom for me. And it's one of those 4 to 6 week projects that it's 8
Hello?
weeks old now, and I have nothing
Hello?
but a piece of concrete out there. And I'm like, wow,
Am I looking for one right now?
what are you gonna do?
You left your what on the back of it?
No, I just married from them. This is a committee meeting, so if you have questions, please feel free to chime in. I mean, we're here to make sure we get things right, not to follow any parliamentary procedure. So if you got anything, just say it out. And I know Scott said he was coming, but I hate to delay things.
Alex was outside playing with Landon and put a sandwich on the trunk of my car, and he said, "Can you go look and see if my sandwich is still in the trunk?" And yeah, it is. It's still there. Oh gosh, kids, what do you do with them?
Another
Even adult
sandwich
kids.
disaster.
Yeah, I said, "Do you want me to just leave it there?" And he goes, "Yeah." I said,
Hi guys,
"He's
come
gonna
on in.
pick it up."
Can we sit anywhere?
Anywhere. Here, you want to sit together? I'll move.
All right.
Huh?
All right. You want to sit down at that end? You want to sit?
I can sit right here.
I'll get one more computer.
Scott's supposed to be here, but I don't know where he is, so. I just told Tom that this is a committee meeting, you don't stand on ceremony, so if you guys have questions, just go ahead and chime in and we'll try to do what we can to answer them.
Suggestions as well.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm Mary Kay.
Mark, neighbor.
Hi, Mark. I'm Sandy. Hi, Sandy. Nice to meet you. And you're
Tom.
Tom.
Brian.
Hi, Tom. Nice to meet you. Okay.
You guys are fixtures now, you come to every meeting.
Well, I'll try to get more involved.
So that's good for you. Thank you for doing that. All right, well, every month, we get these, this is the financial packet. I did not bring copies. If I would have known you guys were coming, I would have, but these are on the website. So if you have an interest in looking at those, what we typically do is we go through these pretty carefully at the finance meeting, and we typically give Cordelia, who does our financial statements, we give her a list of questions, and hopefully by this meeting she responds, but there was, I don't know what happened this month, but we got some answers, but not all. So we'll just go through these and the questions, and if you guys have questions, just chime in and we'll go through it. On the balance sheet, it appears that she combined the real estate tax previous year and what used to be called previous current year into one account. She moved those into the previous year, but what I don't know is how much she wrote off. We've determined that we're not going to collect everything that's in that accounts receivable account. So she has written some of those off. I need to know what that number is, and I need to know when it was written off, because it has an impact on the budget. If she writes it off in the current fiscal year, we have to budget for it. If she writes it off in the previous fiscal year, we have to make sure that we didn't violate the KRS by spending more money than we were supposed to spend. So that's kind of a critical question that needs to be answered, but I didn't get an answer for it yet. The prepaid computer, that was on here last month, it's gone. Apparently we're not going to do that this year, which is good, because I thought it was kind of a silly thing to do. So that's a goner. She did tell me that the Van Gorder Walker is going to start their audit on Monday of next week.
Okay.
So we should have, last year we got audited financial statements March or April. And we said, you know, guys, fun is fun, but we need to have those a lot sooner than that. So we're expecting our audited financial statements probably in September, October timeframe. There he is. How you doing, Scott? We just barely started. But this accounts receivable question is a pretty serious question, and we need an answer to it because she did some sort of write-off. I need to know what period it was, and I need to know how much it was.
Okay.
Last month, we had purchased Pepsi for the Villa vending, and there was no revenue in this month. So according to the answer, it's a procedural issue, has been resolved, and revenue will show up on the October report. So I guess we'll wait and see what happens on that. And what we typically do is we...
So is that at the Villa Park up there? That's that?
Yeah, yeah.
So we don't have a concession stand there anymore? They just...
Well, apparently not. They bought Pepsi's and loaded the vending machine.
The people that usually did the concession chose not to do it. Their son was going to do it, and then at the last minute, he decided he would not. So,
Was it, they contracted out or something? They contracted the right to do it up there, or what?
yes, they contracted out, or they have for as many years as I know.
It's been a little spotty.
Yeah.
It's only $900 a year is what we get on it.
So they pay the city $900 a year for the right to run the
For the right
concession
to
stand?
run a concession. Well, we built a concession stand,
Right,
so we have a vested interest up there.
Sure.
So it's only appropriate that they pay something to be able to use
sure.
it.
But then they don't operate, huh? Because I don't think there's anybody operating last year either, was there?
Yeah, they were supposed to
They
be here
operated last year, they weren't up there very much.
Huh.
I was gonna say, I've never seen it open.
I've never seen it open either. I mean, we play baseball there all the time.
Well,
I live across the street, I've never seen it.
when we first opened that park, when we first redid the park, it was open a lot, but for whatever reason, it's kind of dropped off, so.
What's the deal with the one back here then? Who operates that, or what's the relationship back there?
Well, they sell beer, so we can't be involved.
That's the Civic Club?
Yeah.
They pay the Civic Club, they used to pay them like $1,000 a year or $900 a year, so this year they're,
You mean
No.
Willis?
yeah, $9,000 a year. This year they're paying them $5,000 a year.
I don't know what their deal is.
Yeah, they're paying $5,000. He's
So the
paying
city's not
$5,000.
involved in that, it's a Civic Club deal.
It's between the Civic Club.
The Civic Club owns it, so they pay a Civic Club, and then they run it themselves, huh?
Yeah, we have nothing, we don't even lease that property because there's beer sold.
Yeah.
So we lease around it. We can't be involved in that.
Lease around it, how does that work?
That's a good
It's
question.
sectioned off.
That is
Lease
an
the
excellent
fields.
question.
That's all we lease is the fields.
But yet we maintain the entire complex. That's an excellent question.
I thought the Civic Club did the grass and all that kind of stuff up there at City
Not
Basement.
anymore. And that happened, that contract's what, 4, 5, 6 years old? And it's good until, we can renegotiate it, I think, in September, I think. But it's good to like, what, 2000,
I thought it was a 10-year,
yeah.
but I could be wrong.
But there's a clause.
So do we
where
pay
can't-
somebody to do it, or our public works
Our public works
team
does
does
it.
it?
Snow removal and everything.
Well, it wouldn't be in snow removal up there, would it?
Well, when it snows, they clean the parking lot. I mean, the front parking lot up here. They don't do anything to the back, but up here by the building, they do the snow removal there.
The City Club has the building and the city takes care of their parking lot?
Under the current contract, we take care of everything except basically the white building and the deck back there. We cut all the grass. I don't know that we take any care of the concession stand per se. I think we used to clean the bathrooms, but we don't do that anymore.
We need to revisit that whole concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty sweet
That's
deal.
why I said in September, I think we can, there's a clause that we can go in September and start looking at this.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they're making money, I think, with selling beer and stuff, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
So,
I would assume the Civic Club here, yeah. My question is that I'd really like a legal opinion on that alcohol. I know I keep saying that, but I really do, we need
The
a
alcohol in the civic club or the concession
it's a
stand?
concession stand. Because in our lease, it says there will be no alcohol sold at youth. I think it's youth activities or youth sporting events or something. And,
And the clause of what says we'll take care of the fields and stuff?
well, when you have baseball and stuff going on, at one time, there was alcohol. You tell it.
Well, they
You
sell
know
alcohol
more
back
about
there
it
for
than I
for the
do.
practices back there. They got the alcohol sales going.
Yeah, I know.
That whole deal was before us.
Yeah,
We just,
And there's nothing we can, yeah,
Right.
it
but
sounds,
we need a legal opinion because if somebody gets hurt and they had been, I mean, I just think the city needs a legal, personally, I don't care, as a council person, I care to protect the city. So I think we need a legal opinion on that.
Well, that's the thing, I thought that the civic club took care of the whole property there.
no, sir.
well, they used
No.
to,
Who owns the property, the civic club or the city?
The civic club owns the property. The civic club leases it, leases the fields to the city, and the civic club leases the concession stands to
Bayless.
Bayless.
See, I thought the
Sorry.
grass was being cut by volunteers and
No,
stuff
sir.
like that.
Our public
Used to
works
be.
does it all. Yeah, it used to be, not anymore.
Is there, because there was no volunteers, or does anybody know?
well, even the
It's all
volunteers.
hearsay as to how the contract came about, so I, you know, we
Volunteers
just
are
need to
getting
look
paid,
at
so-
it and try and change it.
The volunteers were getting paid?
Yeah, it's a long
Well,
story.
then they're employees.
Well, this goes back a long way.
Yeah.
so.
It's kind of a can of worms.
Yeah, we'll have to uncan that can here
Yeah,
shortly.
yeah. It's coming.
All right, administration, we are supposed to be reimbursed by Kenton County for the overage that we paid to Erlanger for January, February, and March. We have yet to see that, and the answer to that question was it should be funded by the end of September or maybe October. So we need to keep watching for that because that's a significant amount of money.
Is that on dispatch?
Yeah. I'm sorry, yeah, 911 dispatch. And the admin salaries were higher than budgeted, and the answer was because it was 4.6 weeks, 23 workdays, but it seemed higher than that to me. So I'm gonna have to get with Cordelia and find out why the wages and salaries in administration are higher than budgeted. Because in theory, it's only one more day, 31 versus 30 when you accrue it, so I don't know what the deal is, but we'll get to the bottom of it. If you guys got anything else, just stop, 'cause I'm just gonna get through this. On the page 9, on the attorney fees, the question is somebody going through these attorney bills to make sure that we have the classification correct? Because if you remember, when we discussed this in council, they said, oh, well, 21,000 of that attorney bill should have been code enforcement. It's like, well, wait a minute, if it's code enforcement, code it to code enforcement. We do not see those invoices. The finance committee doesn't see them, so we rely on the fact that they are being coded properly, and that's the purpose for the question. Have these things been coded? Is somebody reviewing these things monthly? And according to them, they are, so,
Do we know how much we're spending on attorneys altogether?
yes. This month, we spent $2,295.50. There was nothing for code enforcement, and there was nothing for civil service. So, I mean, that's a reasonable number, but because of the budget amendment that I proposed, we only budgeted $1,750, so we're $500 over in the first month. We just need to keep our eye on that.
Was your budget, was your amendment there, whatever, was that all attorney fees or just for like what gets classified?
It couldn't include code enforcement and civil service, so it's only what the general.
Or the general attorney
Yeah,
fees then?
yeah. Now, the stuff where we're suing people to pay their license fees, that's going into attorneys, and it should.
Right.
So we'll see what happens with that. I think that's pretty much over, but we may have another round coming up.
When you say license fees, is that just the car
Mhm.
deal? Okay. how do people beat that by licensing in Ohio and stuff,
Or just telling the county they're not gonna pay.
oh, they can do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they ask you if you want to pay.
Yeah,
They don't tell you you have to pay. Do you want to pay your?
I'm gonna tell you now, I don't wanna pay my Villa Hills tax this year, okay?
And then you'll get a letter, and it'll say you must pay it within 30 days, and if not, then they're gonna start fining you. So, please pay it, because otherwise it's gonna,
We'll
it's
talk
gonna
about
cost
that
you
in
more.
a few minutes, but the big problem with that is if, you know, you got a $40 invoice out here, and we gotta go to court to get that $40. We picked up the phone and called the attorney, we spent $400, so,
Right.
Yeah.
you know, how do you can't win in that. Parks and Recreation, Mary, maybe you can help me with this. I thought we budgeted that part-time employee at $750 a month. Was I wrong?
Well, I think it's, you know, I wanna say it's 15 an hour.
I was gonna say 15 an hour, yeah.
15 an hour, and he can only work
20 hours or something.
right, or 20, yeah, something like that, and his contract goes till September 1st. So he's done in another week unless they choose to renew him up until October 1st.
Okay.
So,
So it's possible that if he worked 4 weeks at $20, that he could make $1,200.
You mean 20 hours a week times 15
Yeah,
dollars an hour,
$15
that's what we
an
do
hour.
1,200, right?
Right, but he made $1,500 last month, so I just want to make sure that we've got, it could be just something as simple as the payday happened to fall where, you know, he got one
Right.
more pay or something. I just want to
right,
make sure.
because I think, if I remember correctly, he started like in the middle of the month. It wasn't like May 1 or something, or it was further down in May, maybe.
He started like mid-May, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, something like that, so
Are we
maybe
paying
that's,
him weekly or are we paying him bi-weekly with everybody else?
I would think we're paying bi-weekly, but I don't
Well,
know.
that may be what's happening. Maybe she's not accruing and deferring it because it's a part-timer. Maybe that's what it is.
Okay.
Could be 5 weeks worth of pay, basically, if it's 1,500, right? You could have like 5 weeks in
Yeah,
there somehow.
if it's 5 weeks, yeah. Okay, on the police, the MDTs, I
Which
could have
is-
sworn those were paid off.
What's MDT?
Mobile data terminal.
Okay,
We rented, we leased those from the county bought them, and we leased them from the county. I thought they were to be paid off in June of 13, but this thing says it's now June of 14. So it seems like we've been paying for those things forever. They're checking into it. On the restricted funds, I have a question into Von Lehman to make sure that we have $36,000 in carryovers.
okay.
It appears that we do, but I think we need to get confirmation from them. We just can't do it. And then when we get that confirmation, Mary, you need to include that in the budget amendment that we're gonna have to do anyway. And on the cash disbursements, apparently we're still paying Capital Software, the company that we fired a month or 6 months ago. And this must be the last payment. So.
How do you know that? What she said?
Well, he sent me back a giant zero. When I said, how many more payments? And there's a giant zero. So I guess that's what it means. Page 23 on the bills for payment. Northern Kentucky Area Planning. I'm not sure I understand this, but we were paying Northern Kentucky Area Planning for well, the inspection services, right? That's what we're paying it for.
Correct, and code enforcement.
Code, well, they're not doing code
They're not doing the code
enforcement. Yeah,
enforcement board yet.
Oh, not the board,
Right.
but the
right,
third person is coming out,
Right.
correct?
Which is the inspection services, right? Which is,
right. And we were paying them at 25 cents on the dollar for everything they did here. And there's also, in addition to that, we paid the difference between what we charged and what the county charged. And then I thought there was a resolution drafted to say, we'll go to the county's fee structure so that we don't have to pay that incremental difference. So it says that it's been completed at the end of July, but the August payment has the fee difference in it as well. So somebody's gonna have to,
Did we do that? Did we change the fee structure?
I thought we did.
I believe so.
Did we?
Yes.
I don't remember. That may be the one I missed.
Well, we need to get that resolved.
Maybe that meeting I missed, okay.
All right.
Yeah, because if you look at their, I think was it last month's that we got it? It was still on there, the difference, they had a column for the difference that was there.
Right, but it should, I
It
thought,
should be gone.
yeah, it should be gone in August, and I don't understand why there's two payments in here, and maybe it's June and July, maybe that's why, maybe they missed the June payment.
When you're talking about those guys, you know, in the code enforcement board, they were saying that if they use the county joint board, or not county, but the
Right.
joint code enforcement board, that there wouldn't be any cost involved, because if there was somebody sued, you know, they would try to, what if they didn't win? What if the city didn't win the case? Wouldn't,
They're on their nickel.
That seems on them,
That's
it's
what
on
they
them,
told
that's
us.
what I've understood. Yeah, if they don't win, they don't get paid.
okay, so there's still no liability that way.
I don't think
And then the
so.
other thing you were talking about, you had to provide an attorney and a clerk at each of their meetings.
Right.
Would they really need an attorney at every meeting, or just when there was going to be a legal proceeding? You
I
know?
think if there's no legal proceeding, they cancel the meeting.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's the only purpose for that board, as far as I know. But you're on the board, right?
Yeah, I mean, for a while there, the attorney was also kind of just helping guide the board
What you
through
can
how
do,
to have
what you can't do.
the actual meetings, what you can do, what you can't do, yeah, so they were there most of the times.
And then for the clerk, would you really have to have a clerk if you recorded it or something? I mean, you don't have a clerk here.
Somebody, well, I'll take minutes. Somebody has to take
I mean, couldn't
contemporaneous
somebody on the
minutes.
board take minutes?
That's what they've been doing, that's what Jason, the lead board, guy's been doing it.
I just, you know, when you're comparing the costs, just
Right.
curious.
Right. I understand what you're saying. General ledger on miscellaneous revenue, I've asked her not to code stuff to miscellaneous revenue because if you're an auditor, the very first thing you look at is miscellaneous revenue. Apparently there was a credit on a credit card from Home Depot in 2009, and they got refunded that, so that's what part of that is.
So what would you code that as then?
Pardon?
What would you code that as, or would you ask her to code it as,
Well, I would have coded it back to what the original
what the original charge was?
credit was, but from 2009, who's gonna be able to figure
Who's
that
gonna
out?
know,
So, in that case, miscellaneous revenue probably does make sense. And the health insurance refund of $2,385, and the response was, this is Obamacare. I don't know what that means. They're not sending refunds. So I gotta figure out what that is. Page 32, and I didn't get an answer on this, but there's a lot of medical expenses that came through as zeros on the general ledger. That seems very strange to me. And they didn't respond to that. And on page 34, there were 2 server computer expenses. That was June and July, so they missed the June billing, which I wish they wouldn't do because that's the end of our fiscal year and it makes it difficult. That's all I had. And I don't think, there's nothing on here. The only thing I really think we need an answer to is that question about the write-offs on the accounts receivable. And I think if we can get a number on that, I would not hesitate to accept this financial report, unless you guys think differently.
And you were reading us some answers there, did Mike respond to, on top of what Cordelia responded to? Because all I see is Cordelia's responses.
I didn't get Cordelia's. When did she respond?
She responded 4:57 today.
Okay, now maybe you can give us some answers.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not, yeah, I can read them here, but you got something from the mayor, but not something from Cordelia?
Yeah.
Okay.
This daytime job is really getting in the way.
So, has the VGW started their audit work yet? She said it starts Monday. It appears that CY and PYRA tax implement. As of July 1st, 2013, all outstanding taxes relate to prior year. What is the total amount written off? Approximately $26,000, the majority of which related to 2011, 2012. So what you're looking for?
Did she say what year it was put in?
Was the amount written off as of 6/30/13? Yes. So no,
So it
nothing
was.
year. She says approximately 26,000, the majority of which is related to 2011, 2012.
Okay.
Prepaid computer, has that been eliminated for the current fiscal year? Yes.
Yeah, I got most of those.
Okay.
Actually, that was the only one that I think we had to have an answer to. So she wrote off $26,000 and charged it off on 6/30/13, right?
That's the way I would read this, yeah.
I wonder if she redid the financial statement so we can see the impact of that. Because the way this works, we have to budget in advance. We budget a total dollar amount that can be spent by the city. And if we go over that dollar amount, we got problems with the state. So we've got to make sure that we don't violate that. And the way we did the revenue, we used to do revenue, whenever we received it, we recorded it as revenue. And 2 years ago, they made the decision to record everything that got billed as revenue. And then we would record everything that didn't get paid as a write-off. Well, unfortunately, that puts it on the expense side of the equation, and that makes it subject to KRS limitations. So we've got to make sure that we didn't violate that.
So these write-offs are uncollectible property taxes,
Yeah, and most of them are
foreclosed.
foreclosed. They could be code enforcement. What they did is, for a while, they were charging $3,000 if they had to go in and do something. So the $3,000 unfortunately got coded to accounts receivable property tax. So it's not really property tax. And by then, the property probably changed hands, or the owner may have passed away, who knows? But if you don't lien the property, you have no legal rights to anything. So, it's silly for us to sit here and say, please pay that bill, when if it was you, if you bought that house, you're not gonna pay the bill, it's 3 years old.
Right.
So.
And you'd soon have the new person paying new taxes.
Exactly. So that's part of the
Makes good
reason
sense.
for this amnesty program, because we do have stuff that we've been carrying since 2003, 2004.
The 2012 seems pretty recent though, to write it off.
Well, we won't write it off on 2012, we'll collect it. We won't collect the interest and penalty. It was.
I don't mean on the amnesty, we were talking about the money that was being written off to 23,000, whatever it was from 11 to 12, isn't that what you just said?
Well, that's what she said, but I think, I'm not sure much of it was from 2012, unless it was property that was foreclosed on. And that could very well be.
Well, when they foreclose on a property, wouldn't the banks have to pay the,
Not without a lien.
okay, so that's when you put a lien in there?
Yeah, and if we know that something's going to foreclose, or, I think, well, and that's what we talked about with this amnesty program. Let's go ahead and do the amnesty, collect what we can collect, and then we lien everything that didn't get paid. And we lien it right then, because this is going to happen to us again and again if we don't protect ourselves.
Right. I mean, I can understand if somebody's sick and dying or whatever, but I mean, when the property's owned by a bank or if it's for sale, that's when you should be able to at least collect the taxes.
Right. And I think we have to file in advance of the thing going up for sale.
Sure.
So we just need to be.
So the banks don't notify you that they're taking over the property, right? So that's when you look for those,
Unless there's a lien.
that's when they put those notes in the
Right.
windows and stuff?
Right.
Okay, this is really stupid, but does anybody ever check for those things and say, here's a number that's, looks like it's in foreclosure?
Unless a neighbor calls, I mean. we
There's
can-
no reason to, I mean, unless they're delinquent on their taxes, or the neighbors call and say, hey, they're not cutting their grass, or they got animals running in and out.
How much does it cost to record a lien?
It's not much, but you got to involve an attorney, or
Yeah.
it's probably not the attorney, it's somebody on the staff.
But see, I guess part of what they're talking about that code enforcement board would do, right, then,
Okay, KPC.
yeah.
So we should know though, after we collect the tax bills this year, I mean, maybe we need to check who did not pay, and then maybe you know, send somebody from the city out to ride by, look and see what's going on,
I think we sent them a letter
or
immediately.
contact the bank. Well, but if
And
we're
whatever
not
the grace
living there
period is, why not
anymore,
leave
they're
them right away?
foreclosed, you know, the letter's not, I
Well,
mean,
if they foreclose before the taxes go out, there's nothing we can do.
right.
But if they foreclose after the taxes
But
go
a lot
out,
of it comes through the mortgage companies too. They pay the taxes. So if we don't get something from them, we could very well contact the mortgage companies.
if we
Why
know who
don't you
they
pay
are.
it? Maybe they could say, yeah,
Right.
you know.
How many properties in the city have delinquent taxes?
There really aren't many, surprisingly enough. I mean, it's a lot of money, but,
So you guys have already kicked off the agency thing, the letter's already gone out and stuff and everything, and
well, that's what, we need to be more diligent about that.
Yes.
And when the taxes go owed, we need to send them out immediately.
you want to talk as far as the agency
Right, I
thing?
think didn't they send them out?
Yeah, they've
the-
already been sent
They've
out.
already sent out, right, yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's only 9 on here. And of the total, there was about $39,000 owing. There's 17,000 of us from 2012, so I'm hoping she didn't write off. I mean, she and the mayor spent a lot of time on this, going through this list and making sure that we had the right information. And we have not seen that information. This is just a summary, and it's only got nine individuals on it, so.
Have there been a lot of properties in Villa Hills that have been devalued?
I don't know.
We need to keep that.
Well, when I've looked at property taxes and stuff like that in the city, I've seen one, for instance, from 1.5 million down to 1.2 million. One of them was 320 down to 270 or something like that. And I just wonder what circumstances makes the property worth less than what they bought.
Somebody wants to sell it, they need to get out from underneath it, and they take what's ever offered. And a lot of them could be heading to foreclosure.
Now I'm not talking about properties that have changed hands,
Oh,
that have stayed in the same names, and I've seen that they've gone down
It's
300,000.
good campaign with the PVA, I guess.
Yeah,
That's what I was
you can
wondering.
request a revaluation at any time.
I noticed the house across from me sold not too long after I moved in. It was considerably more than mine, bigger house. And it's valued less than mine now, and with the same owner in it. You know, the owner didn't change. And the house next to me, which is about the same size, in fact, it has a 3-car garage, and mine only has a 2-car garage. It's valued at less than mine now, and it was about the same when I moved in. So somebody's been, you know, pretty smart with the PVA. But as far as the city goes, you still calculate how much it's going to generate, right? So if your value goes down, your taxes are going to go up, right?
Well, in individuals, tax will go
Right.
down.
So it generates the same amount of money for the city.
Right. I mean, that's what it's based on, the compensating rate they call it.
Right.
They take everybody together and they figure out what that rate is going to be. And then, like this year, it happened to come out to be the same amount. And, you know, the question was asked, do we want to raise taxes? And most of the people said, no, we're not going to raise taxes. So it stayed at, I believe it's .214.
So in other words, the county sets the property value, right? And then we collect the taxes off of that.
Right. So we've got nothing to say about the value.
What's our taxes per, was it 1,000 or 100 today?
Per mil, per thousand, so it's .214 per thousand.
That's for our city?
Yeah. At least that's what it'll be. This thing, and I did this, does anybody have anything else, by the way, before we move on to other topics? This is, I got this off the Triad website. If you want to pass those around, there's enough for everybody. This will give you some idea where we are relative to other cities. And we have been discussing for the last several weeks replacing the vehicle sticker fee with a franchise fee. So the vehicle sticker fee, as you know, is $40 per car. And the franchise fee would be, the proposal is 3% of your Duke invoice, both electric and gas. So if you pay $200 a month, your monthly bill will go up $6. That's the proposal. What we're trying to do is replace this vehicle license fee for a couple reasons. Number one, we don't consider it's equitable, and number two, it's not enforceable. I mean, there's no way to enforce that. So if you go down to the county and say, you know what, I don't feel like paying my vehicle license fee, the county says, thank you very much, have a nice day, and that's the end of it. So we need to have a way that everybody needs to share in this pain. I mean, the roads are gonna be a pain, there's no question, but we need to all share it. And this is a way to do it, at least one way. So the
How
other,
much would that generate annually?
well, 184,605. That's if everybody is taxed at 3%. Now, there's some question about, do you want to tax,
Seniors.
well, seniors, we can't even identify them because Duke doesn't have the information. So we really can't do anything about that. That'll be a Duke thing. But do we want to tax commercial because their power usage is so much higher than residential? Do we want to tax schools? They use a lot of power, and they're paying Duke just like we are. So 3% is going to be on their bill as well. So anyway, there's some issues involved in this. And the other thought is maybe we tinker with some of these other taxes to try to get back to where we need to be on the roads. We've already passed on the property tax. That cannot be changed at this point until next year. Insurance premium tax, we have one of the lowest in northern Kentucky. Edgewood's at 0, so we can't get much lower than that. But in Crescent Springs just went to 6%, and they were trying to get down to 5% to match us, and they didn't make it. So there may be some room there on the
If you don't
insurance.
have one, though, the county has one, right?
Not on insurance.
I thought if you, on the insurance tax, if the city.
Oh,
didn't have
yeah, if you don't have one, the county will assess it.
one- Right, so what is their rate?
It's lower than, I think it's like 4 or something. I'd have
So
to
you
look
want
it
at
up.
least do what theirs is.
Yeah, I don't want to lower it.
Right.
I don't want it to go down. We were thinking maybe, if you tinker with that a little bit. Payroll tax, I don't like payroll tax, especially in Villa Hills because you've got so few people paying it. And I did get some numbers today, just a few minutes ago. River Ridge power consumption is $160,000 a year. Villa Madonna has a $7 million payroll. And the two schools that we have in Villa Hills pay 35% of our total payroll tax.
The two schools pay 35, combined pay 35%.
Combined pay 35%. And our budgeted is $225 on payroll tax. So 35% of that is what they pay right now on payroll tax. Which is kind of weird because Villa's got a $7 million payroll by themselves. So that's something.
Madonna Manor and all that?
No, they're two different entities. Villa Madonna Academy Elementary and High School have a total $7 million payroll, which in theory should generate $70,000 for us because of the 1% property tax. But if the two schools only have 30% of
Something doesn't add up there, does it?
yeah, something's wrong. So I'm not sure these numbers are entirely accurate.
Who gave you the numbers?
Those came, actually, one came from Villa and the other one came from River Ridge, because you can't get this information anywhere. It doesn't exist. Apparently we can't get it from the county. By taxpayer, we can get it total, we can't get it by taxpayer.
I thought that was in public records.
I thought so too.
But it's not.
Well, maybe it is, maybe the county didn't want to give it to us right now. But we're scurrying around trying to figure out how to make this work. And I think the proposal next Wednesday, and I'm just bouncing it off you guys because you're the finance committee, the proposal next Wednesday is going to be to move forward with the franchise tax. It's not going to be an ordinance, we're not going to vote on it. We simply need to negotiate this with Duke. Once we negotiate it with Duke, then it requires 2 readings for this ordinance. So what we want to do is give people plenty of room, plenty of time to say, hey, this isn't fair, I don't like this, whatever they want to say. We're not going to have a public hearing on it, but they can come to the meeting and say what they want to say. But we want to move forward with a franchise tax and not change any of these other taxes right now until we have more time to study this. That would be my recommendation.
Would we be the only city that has a franchise tax if we did this? Or do we just not know what the
I'm
others
sorry,
are?
what now?
Would we be the only city that has a franchise tax?
No, I just
Yes,
did
or-
that. Virtually everybody's moving to a franchise tax now.
Are they?
Crescent Springs just put one in at 3%. They put theirs in to pay the 911 dispatch fees from Rolling. But, you know, we have that $85 per parcel fee that we're paying the county right now.
But the county's still trying to get that on the energy bill too, aren't they?
Yeah, they said they are. I don't know if they're gonna do that. I don't know if that.
Duke's
that's a
fighting
good-
it, right?
That's a good point. Yeah, Duke's fighting it like crazy.
But they don't mind doing this?
They don't have any choice.
Oh, okay.
We have,
This is part of the negotiation to have the right of way and all that?
right.
Okay.
We need a franchise agreement with Duke. Ours lapsed years ago.
Oh, really?
We just,
Okay, I just assumed it was coming from Duke, you know?
no, it's not. We kind of missed it. So we need to redo this franchise agreement anyway. This is an opportune time.
Are they currently paying anything?
Duke, do you mean our
Duke.
residents? Duke's not, no. And this will be a pass-through for Duke. Whatever they collect will pass through. They won't make any money on this. I think there's a small handling fee, but it's nothing. So, this is what we're gonna talk about on Wednesday night. I need to go back for a minute. Does anybody object to accepting the July financial statements as published? The $26,000 is within the ballpark of what I thought we were gonna have to write off. We did write it off effective 6/30. I would like to see those financial statements for 6/30 to make sure we didn't violate the KRS. But other than that, does anybody have any objections? Okay. All right. What else do you want to talk about?
What was the 20% there on that project? 20% of the money come from? We got market property tax, 20.4%.
That's what Triad in 2012 said our property tax rate was. I thought it was 2.14, but they published 2.04.
Okay.
So that'll give you an idea what everybody's charging. You know, it's kind of nice to be on the low end of some of these. I really don't want to be on the high end. And unfortunately, I sorted this by name of the city. So all those payroll taxes, we could have been at the very top of that list. I sorted it the wrong way.
But at Fort Mitchell, they, in addition to the property tax, they have a school tax.
They do.
So the total is probably more than that.
Probably.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, fortunately, we don't have that issue. But we pay that to the county, so, you know, there's no free lunch.
So if we do this franchise tax, we're able to say we want to exclude schools, or we want to
We don't-
exclude businesses, or?
We don't know yet. We
Okay.
have to negotiate that with Duke. And I'm not sure you really want to exclude businesses or schools. I mean,
What about just
businesses,
excluding nonprofits?
well, we might, I don't know if we can even do that. I don't know
Because
if
the
that's.
school's kind of like a nonprofit, right? I mean, you know.
Right. Well, the schools, but the schools, the nonprofit schools don't pay any insurance tax right now. They don't pay any property tax. And there's a lot of cars coming in and out for those schools. So,
Right.
you know, I mean, I'm all in favor of schools, but, you know, we got a lot of tires on the road that we have to pay for. So anyway, that's gonna come up Wednesday night. Do we want to make this franchise fee or tax, whatever it is, do you wanna make that across the board, or do you wanna make it specific to exclude certain elements?
But right now, if we do 3% franchise fee, we're like 16,000 short of what we took in with the $40 fee.
16,000 short for half a year,
And for half a year, see, half a year, so that's
because we have an opportunity.
32,000 for the whole year.
Well, 16 for the whole year, so that $16,000 would be an annual shortfall. But we're only gonna, the only thing we need to be concentrating on is the time between January 1 and June 30, because we're gonna continue to collect the vehicle license fee up until December 31st. This thing was installed on January 1. If we can terminate it on 12/31, then everybody's treated the same way. So hopefully that the people will understand we're trying to do this right.
Well, if that's gonna be a shortfall over the sticker fee, then shouldn't it be more?
Nobody in the state of Kentucky has a franchise fee higher than 3%. That doesn't mean we can't, but nobody has one. So if we go to 4%, that'll be more than enough to compensate for the vehicle license fee, but we will be the highest franchise fee in the state.
Are we actually collecting 200,000 a year on the vehicle, or is that just what we want to collect and haven't gotten there?
2 years ago, we thought we'd get 175, and now we're thinking we get 200. There is a lot more compliance now than there was before.
We're pretty close to that.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
I know I've got that thing.
But with that protection, does that include the schools and such or not?
Yeah, that's everything. That's it. We want.
So it would be a big shortfall if you,
right, then, because I think we can take this out of those reserves if we need to make up the difference. But if we're talking, you're cutting them out and you bump up to 45 or 50.
I mean, we got some saving, we just saved some money in the police department, you know, by hiring part-time officers.
Right.
I'm not sure we want to take it out of reserve just yet, but the total for commercial at 3% would be roughly $20,000. Industrial, which I think is the gas plant down on Route 8, that's $600. And governmental, which includes us, River Ridge, that's probably it, us and River Ridge, because River Ridge is technically governmental, is $5,000. So if you exclude those, we're down to 159.
Is there a natural gas storage thing there too? Do we get any taxes off of that?
Yeah, we get that, that's what it would be, $600, they don't use hardly any energy. They probably make their own.
Yeah.
But we would go down to 159, so now we're looking at a $41,000 shortfall. Then we might have to do something else.
Right, if we get too far out, then I'm afraid we are gonna have to.
But I kind of like doing it across the board. I kind of, you know, if we start talking about, well, here's Villa Madonna, and here's River Ridge, and here's Madonna Manor, it seems to me like we shouldn't be picking and choosing our friends. We should just do something across the board and say, you know,
Madonna Manor just hit a 4% increase, so they should be able to afford it.
in their,
Wow.
for their residents.
Mhm.
Wow.
I know mom was in there, and it was, and this is before they had a new facility, and it was about $6,500 a month.
It's about 85 now
8,500.
Yeah, I didn't think it'd get any cheaper.
for the full care nursing.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, so,
They include your electric though.
well, that's what we're up against.
Leave the lights on 3%.
So if you went to the 4% though, that would more than cover it, right? Do you think that would be a hard pill to swallow with nobody else having more than that?
Not for me, because I'm not gonna run again. But I think there's some people that would have a problem with that.
But it just doesn't seem logical to replace something that's sort of starting to work now with less, you know?
You know, if we can make it work and across the board, I'd be all in favor of it, because it makes sense to tie the roads to the vehicles, and that's what's causing the problem. But we're not really tying it to all the vehicles, we're just
No, I
tying it
agree.
to some, and eventually people are gonna say, I'm not gonna pay this anymore.
And like
Well,
you say,
yeah.
the roads, I mean, you know, the people who are driving, you know, all the day are the people who work for, like, the Madonna Manor, the schools, and they're not paying any sticker taxes unless they actually do live here in town.
Well, they're paying their payroll tax.
True.
But you get all the contractors that come in and do work, UPS,
Right.
Cincinnati Bell, I mean, all of them pay payroll too.
Well, they should be
People that
paying,
have,
they should be paying an earnings tax too.
Mm.
So, you know, we are getting something. That doesn't mean they're really paying the earnings tax, because it's so difficult to calculate it when you send it to the county. I've done that.
So do you have any kind of record of like the number of vehicles per household or anything like that, where you could actually compare like for instance, in my case, we're paying for 3 vehicles. So that's $120, right? And in Rest Bay, this is probably gonna cost me $75 or $80. So It would actually be a savings to me. And obviously, there's gonna be some savings because you're gonna have less money, so.
And for us, it's gonna be more, because we have 2 cars and we're on homestead exemption, so we're gonna pay 40 this year. But with our electric bill and everything, it's gonna be higher. So, you know, I mean,
Right.
and it's just the way it is.
But if you were going to try to, I guess, sell a higher percentage rate, is there any way to know what the average, or a couple different,
The average number of cars per home is just over 2. Like
Just over 2.
2.1, 2.2.
so the average is a little over $80?
That's what we were basing this whole thing on. If an average house is $80, where are we gonna be? Well, if it's $200 a month, like you mentioned earlier, you'd be at $72 a
Right.
month. So that would be a savings, hopefully.
Right.
But, you know, like Mary said, you know, maybe we got some people that are 80 years old, 90 years old, living by themselves. They got 1 car, you know, now we're gonna hit them for $72 and they're only paying 40. And there's no way around it. There's no way to calculate this that'll work. 4% would bring us $240,000, rough number, so that would be
I think that-
61.
I think the big selling point to me on this is though, is how much are we wasting on attorney fees trying to collect our vehicle fees?
A lot.
So,
Well, and we're losing probably, I don't, Brian, you know better than I, but we're losing between a third and a half of a clerk, just doing nothing, but
Exactly.
running
So-
these things down.
so when you talk about the proposal, bring that into the play too, and say, look, we're collecting 200,000, we're spending 20,000 on attorneys, and we're wasting 40,000 in people's time to do this work.
I don't think we have to convince anybody that the license fee was a good idea, not anymore.
Well, you gotta convince the person who has 1 car and pays electric bill, right? I mean, that's what you're just saying, so I mean, because if you look at it like here, you know, we've been talking, you're 16,000 short, but if we're spending 60,000 to collect this money, you know, you're coming out ahead in the end, so.
Well, I for one never did like the license fee, because I figured I could only drive 1 car at one time, why do I have to pay for it? But, all that aside, I think I prefer the tax on the Duke bill more than anything else.
Well, for one thing, it's less painful. You don't see it all at one
You don't,
time, it's just
exactly.
on your
Well,
bill.
why not 3.5 then? That would be,
Well,
that'd be about right, the right amount, wouldn't it?
For somebody that's not running again, yeah. Yeah, your point's well made.
Well, the other
Yeah.
advantage to this is you're paying it by the month instead. When I go down and get my license, I get all 3 of them at one time, and that's an extra $120 I gotta pay along with the $300 for this car, $200. So, you know, you gotta come up with extra money. And our birthdays are in January, February, so it's all right when everything else is happening.
We don't know yet if we put in this fee or tax, whatever it is, effective 1/1/14, we don't know if we can change it later, or how quickly we can change it. Is it something we can change quarterly, the rate, or is it something we can only change annually? We don't know yet. So we need some more information. That's why we're not prepared to vote on this. I mean, there's some real good questions out there that we can't answer yet. So we need to get those answers before we go forward. And I don't think anybody's contemplating making a knee-jerk reaction on
But
this.
you wanna have it in place by the end of the year,
We got to. If we don't,
so you
then,
eliminate the.
right.
And they need, what, 4 months or so to get it?
They said
up and
5, so
5 months to
we're
get up.
borderline. But that includes negotiation and all that stuff. What we told them was, we'll take Crescent Springs agreement. Hell, it's not, I mean, it's the same agreement. We might change a rate, we might change a few words. And Crescent Springs, I don't know, Crescent Springs did cap out some of these people.
Didn't they?
So like when Rentke's came and said, hey, you're gonna cost us 20 grand a year, they capped them at some number, I think it was like 5
Yeah,
grand.
I thought it was 5, yeah.
And we can put a 5 grand cap on it for River Ridge and Madonna Manor. I kinda doubt that anybody's gonna get to that, but if they did, they could limit their liability as well.
Do you have the usage for those facilities?
I don't. All I have, River Ridge said they spent $160,000 last year on power. And somebody gives me a round number like that, I wonder how much research you did before you gave me that number. But that's right at 5 grand, 3%. So, maybe 5 grand does make sense. Maybe we
Did
say,
the bill give you any numbers?
Yeah.
I would think they'd be way over that.
probably,
A lot older buildings
and
Unless
a lot
they're
more
new.
buildings.
Right.
And I don't know if that includes I don't know if the nuns residents would be included in that. I don't know. And that $7 million that they gave us, I don't know what that includes either. That may include some ancillary kind of services that are not related to the school.
Yeah, do that, say small verbs in the school and all that stuff. Can we get the numbers, like, we got the numbers on 3, can we get the numbers on like 3 1/4, and then 3 1/2? What
Oh, yeah, just
generate?
put it on a spreadsheet.
Okay,
I'll put them out there for Wednesday and we can look at it.
because if we have too much of a shortfall, then we're gonna have to probably start looking at one of these other 2 options, which I don't think everybody's real excited about.
Well, I don't mind looking at those other 2 options, but keep in mind that none of this stuff happens immediately. It's like the insurance premium tax, you have to notify the state insurance commissioner by March, and it's not effective until July 1st of that next year. And on the property, or
Isn't there a problem with collecting that too, that they know that it's going to the right place?
there used to be, they're doing a lot better with the GPS stuff, that they put in the address now and it tells them really what city it is. We had a real problem because if you had Covington on your
Right.
your tax, that's where it went. But
On your website?
if you got billed with a Covington address, 41017,
Through
could say
Disney?
Fort Mitchell, could say Covington, could say any, they were just going by whatever city it said. But now,
What about the few properties that are within the limits but not in the city?
that are in county,
Right, they're in the county, but they're within the boundaries of the limit. They would not be included, right?
probably not. I don't know what we haven't asked that question, I don't know what to. That's a legitimate question.
And all this money would be restricted just for roads.
Absolutely. We'll take it from 3 to 4 in increments of 1/4%, so you can see it. The tax amnesty was the only other thing. I think, it'll be voted on, the ordinance at the first reading. I don't know if we're gonna, I guess we don't need to vote on that. That's an executive order,
Right.
so we're good on that. As far as I know, that's it, unless somebody has something else they want to discuss,
So you're looking for a budget amendment, like around November, maybe?
probably. If we do this franchise fee, I think we're gonna need a budget amendment because we need to restrict that money.
Okay,
And I don't want that money coming in without the restriction.
absolutely.
So, Crescent Springs did not restrict. Theirs is coming into the general fund and then they're paying their 911 dispatch out of it. I would prefer to restrict this from the get-go. And then we're gonna need the budget changed because it specifically says vehicle license fee. So we have to change all that.
So if you started collecting that by the month versus most of it in the beginning of the year, well, I guess people get license all year round.
Yeah.
I think they send us money though quarterly. Duke does, don't they send us a quarterly?
Duke?
Yeah,
Duke would,
Yeah.
but the county sends it to us monthly. So the vehicle license fee, we're somewhere between 12 and 15 every month. It's kind of nice to have, to be honest, but, quarterly works too. Fortunately, we've got enough of a surplus that we don't have to worry about cash flow being a problem, so, at least not yet. But that doesn't mean you don't keep cutting those costs.
You mentioned saving money in the police department.
Yeah.
I remember hearing you ask if he was gonna hire a full-time officer at one quit. But that didn't happen, right? Hired three part-time.
3 part-time.
Is that still logical as far as money-wise?
Well, here's what, we're has anybody got anything else for finance? Because we should probably end
no,
that meeting. and then
close the meeting.
Yeah, we'll close the meeting and we'll just go over this, but I'd be more than happy to talk to you about that. At one time, if we kept that one officer and didn't hire any part-times, we'd have 40 hours a week. With the part-times, we